Hello, I want to welcome you back to How to Play the Game of College podcast, where we're in season three. And again, the theme for this season is keeping it real about college. And y'all, I am so excited to have this guest. He's like a family, he's a brother. And so without further ado, I want to welcome you to the podcast, Dr. Warren. How you doing today, man?
Yeah, man, I'm good, brother. Like you said, great to be here. I'm excited. Season three, man. Can
Man,
you believe it? Season three, just like
season
that,
three.
brothers. Thank
Yes.
you for having me, man. Excited to share some stories and whatever else may come up today.
Man, sounds good. And let's get started. I know you very well, but to the audiences watching, can you just give us a brief overview of who you are, man, and what you actually do now?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, man. Well, both of us always, of course, man, husband, father, family man, all those type of things. Professionally, currently, recently transitioned from Tennessee Department of Education over to the Tennessee Board of Regents. So
Okay.
previously have been, in K-12 and higher ed, going back to higher ed. And so I will be serving there, working in curriculum and workforce, and so excited to do that. But yeah, really, man, just a long career background of early ed all the way through, master's and doctoral
Yeah.
level, as far as working professionally and everything in between. Boots on the ground level and all the way up to leadership positions, and it's been a fun journey and still a lot left, so I'm excited
Yeah,
for what's to
yeah,
come.
yeah, man. So excited. Again, I know you have had a great journey, a long journey in the field of education, like you said, from K-12 through higher ed. And the list just goes on and on. Just curious, when we talk to a lot of students, they see what we do now. What do you think inspired you to go into the field of education?
Yeah, sure, man. Well, for me, I did have family that was in the field of education, so that was big for me. Honestly, I resisted it for many years. When I did, finally take a victory lap, a 5.5 year journey through my undergraduate career for college, and finally got that bachelor's.
Yeah.
Uh, I actually went to work in minor league baseball.
Oh,
And
wow.
before that, I actually went to work at a factory. So, there's a lot to unpack there, one
Yeah,
day or
yeah,
another day. But what ultimately led me to it was seeing, man, it's a noble profession. It's a stable profession, but for me, it was a passion that I was resisting,
mhm,
and I don't,
mhm.
as I reflect, I don't know if it's because I'm not going to do what my folks did,
Yeah, yeah.
but yeah, came into that and really wanted to work with young people, wanted to teach, wanted to coach, was able to do both of those things. And then other unexpected opportunities, came along over the
Yeah,
years.
yeah,
If you just put your nose into it and start working, you never know what will come up. So yeah,
yeah.
just a passion for working with young folks of all ages would likely be what ultimately led me there.
Got you, got you. And it's a chapter in the book where I talk about, discovering your major, but
Yes.
more importantly, looking at your purpose and your passion, right? And so, so many times we like listen to other folks, and a lot of times those other folks are parents, right? And they say,
Yeah.
hey, you need to
Yeah.
do this. I work with students where my mom told me I should be a teacher, but that's not really what I want to do. And so, I love for folks to hear our journey of how we kind of got into it. And a lot of times, like you said, it wasn't like we went from high school just knowing like, hey, I'm gonna work at higher ed. It took some different paths and of
Yes.
disappointment at times, or U-turns, I like to say, in order to really get us to where we are now. And so I'm glad that you kind of highlighted that and really talked about, your passion for the field. Very, very important for our young folks. On another note, Dusty, as we look at obstacles, right?
Yeah.
And I'm having you to probably jog back. And one good thing about this podcast, there's so many folks, and I feel like we're getting a lot of newer adult students who are going to work on a master's or they're going to get a doctorate. I get a lot of questions like, I want to get started, but I don't have the time. Yeah, I got kids, I got a full-time job, especially if I'm looking at a terminal degree. Can you look
Yeah.
back at maybe your journey over your 3 degrees, right? And
Yeah.
any journeys, any obstacles, I should say, that you had to overcome or kind of work through in order to get, to the finish line. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
The more, what's that saying? The more things change, the more they stay the same,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So there are more supports and more opportunities than ever
Okay.
for students moving into higher ed at all levels. But there are still those that fall in the cracks, as we know, that they don't receive that support. So for me, high school, I was a high achiever, a 4.0 type student. Um, but man, my family didn't know much about applying to college and going to
Right.
college. And so I had no real guidance there. Honestly, if he ends up watching this, a good friend of mine, he actually filled out a college application for me and
Wow.
sent it in uh,
Okay.
and to the University of Memphis there.
Yeah.
And man, I called them in May or June when school started in August. Hey, y'all got any scholarships left? And they kind of laughed. And but hey, it was one of those
Yeah.
things that worked out. Went on to college, man. So that was obstacle number one. Is I just got
Hmm.
lucky because those supports weren't there. There wasn't a drive for FAFSA and all those things at
Right.
that
Right.
time.
Yeah.
This school counseling wasn't as heavy on that experience.
Hmm.
That's still a barrier for many, even though it's better than it used to be.
Yeah.
Once I got to college, man, did okay at first. Had a lot of 8 o'clock classes, and that was okay. My
Hmm.
first year,
Yeah.
year two, year three, man, it became a real barrier for me because life had changed.
Hmm.
So man, you're not an 8 o'clock guy anymore, Dustin. So a lot of people don't realize midway through my college career, man, I had a zero point 0.4 and a zero point 0.0
Wow.
semester.
Okay.
And I was a Dean's List student prior to that. And so
Mhm.
those obstacles were lack of discipline, not realizing, hey, all this fun stuff, what makes it possible is
Yeah.
you making the grades. So I
Right.
failed to seek out tutoring supports. I failed to, you know, even as those resources are more and more available, you
Hmm.
do
Hmm.
have to seek them out.
That's true.
They're
So
not going to
true.
come to your room and get you up at most
Right.
schools. And so, luckily I had, staff people there at the university that believed in me.
Hmm.
And they were like, finally called me in, man, what's going on? Talked through things, was able to turn it around, finished out strong, and went on from there, man. The
Yeah.
bachelor's didn't really take me where I wanted because at that time, internships and all that, it was just a different
Yeah.
game. And so I would tell folks, when you're getting that degree, make sure you know what you're going to do with it. Don't just
So
get it,
true. So true. Yes.
So
Yes.
uh,
Exactly.
was blessed to go back and get a master's and been teaching and coaching in K-12. And as I moved into higher ed, had an opportunity while there to earn most of my doctorate. And
Right.
man, it has served me well. Really, once I got into the master's and doctorate, not too many obstacles other than just, time management,
Hmm. Hmm.
making sure, but more than ever, courses are offered at different times. You have
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
online format. And so just make sure you choose wisely. I would
Hmm.
say it's
Hmm.
probably the biggest obstacle at the graduate level would be,
Right. Right.
hey, as an adult student here, this has to fit my life. So,
Got you. Got
yeah.
you. And yeah, you said so much in that particular question, so many great resources. And I like how you started off by saying, hey, I had someone who helped me, right?
Yeah.
And I talk about that in the book, just asking for help. So many times you don't know where to start, especially if you're a first generation college student. You don't really have the resources, parents, or even sometimes teachers. And so sometimes just go and ask for help, right? That's the beginning of it. I like to tell
Yeah.
students. And what would you say to that student? I know I met you, Dustin, when I first started my career in higher ed at the University of Memphis, and you were like an orientation leader to welcome new students, and it seemed like you were just so engaged on the college campus, which I know that's a resource within itself because it allows
Sure.
you to meet other people, right? What about that student who's on the flip side? I encounter a lot of students that say, I mean, I don't know what to say to a teacher. I'm intimidated.
Yeah.
What if I do go to the office hours like you suggest? What do I even say? Do you have any
Yeah.
advice for that particular student?
Sure. The one thing I would say is, hey, if you're even considering going to those office hours, go.
Mhm.
Most students would be on either side of that coin.
Yeah,
Most students would be shocked at how few students go to office hours,
so true.
and the
Yeah.
professors generally, they have to have them. They're there anyway.
Mhm.
So come in, that conversation starter could simply just be, hey, I just wanted to stop by. I saw that you had office hours. I wasn't really sure what that was about,
Right.
hey, could you tell me a little more about the exam coming up, or I'm working on this current assignment? If it's
Right.
an area of interest to you, a great conversation starter is, hey, I'm in your general psychology, your intro to psychology class. I find it interesting. I know you're a professor. What are some other things I could do with a psychology degree? So
Hmm.
now it's you never know where that would lead.
So
It's just
true. Yeah.
they're most are well seasoned, they're professionals, they do want to
Mhm.
talk to you, they do want to know what your interests are.
Right.
um, so yeah, I would go to those office hours.
Hmm. Hmm.
It may not know if you're wanting other services, but it's always good to stop through,
Yeah.
talk to your advisor,
Right.
talk to tutoring. You don't have to do anything other than just to see what they offer,
So
just to see
true.
what they
So true.
offer and what they do. But yeah, I can't recall a time that I went to office hours with a professor, even when I was in bad shape. I was there, begging and pleading,
Yeah. Yeah.
and still it still went well.
Right.
They were very
Exactly.
professional.
Exactly.
But they were honest and transparent. So be
Yeah.
ready when you go in there
Right.
now. You're not in elementary
Yeah.
school, you're
Yeah.
not in middle school, high school anymore. So they're
Hmm.
going to treat
Hmm.
you like an adult and talk to you, straight away. But always a positive experience
Right.
going
Right.
into those office hours.
So
Yes.
true, so true. And I couldn't agree more. And I like how you said, you don't have to have this big dissertation,
Yeah.
question figured out. I think just taking the first step, and it could just be introducing yourself, right? Or, hey, let's discuss, my particular goals for your course. We talk a lot about internships, you need letters of recommendation,
Yeah.
the power of just relationships, it goes so far. And I know I'm about to be 44 this year, Dusty, believe it or not, which is crazy. But even now in 44, like relationships, they fuel me, right? As far as my business, the connection piece and just opening up your mouth and say, hey, I need help, or where can I start? You'll be surprised of like how many people really want to help you throughout this journey. So just take the
Yeah.
leap and just ask for help. Very, very important.
Absolutely.
Yes. Again, Dusty, as I mentioned earlier, the theme for this season is keeping it real about college. I think
Yeah.
the last two seasons had some really great guests, right? And I had a lot, I like to say, fluff questions like, hey, you came from high school, how did you select that college? You had this great college experience, you had it all figured out. But we know there's so many students that, they don't have it figured out and they have to
Sure.
take those different routes, right? As the young people say, life be lifing, life be lifing. And so, what would you say to that student? We talked about resources on campus. You talked about, how you got to where you are, some of the obstacles, asking for help. But now, what would you say to that student that just says, hey, I got life outside of college, right? That's causing me not to be able to actually go to school. And more importantly, if I'm there, I'm probably not going to stay to complete. Do you have any just life advice that you use on a day-to-day basis that keeps you going?
Yeah, I mean, it would be great for them to, they're still at the university. So
Yeah.
whether it's having a talk with yourself, but usually you need to talk with somebody besides just you. So if it is going to anybody, one person,
Yeah.
somebody that you trust at that university, an advisor is always a good spot. That's a touch point that most students have, whether they want to or not.
Right.
You
Right.
generally have to see that advisor. But let's talk about options and talk about other plans. And if you present that to an advisor, having been a former advisor myself at the collegiate level,
Yeah.
my job is not to sell you on the university. I'm not in admissions. My
Right. Right.
job is to help you through life and advise you. And
Mm.
so, hey, there's more options than ever now. Let me look at how long have you been here? Do you already have enough for an associate's degree? Let me call over at the local community college and see, can we get you over there, and maybe you just need one more class or something and you could be
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
Or could they go,
Exactly.
is there an agreement where they could go ahead and grant you an
Mm.
associate's degree? What are you doing now outside of, what is your job?
Right.
Are
Right.
you in a trade? Well, hey, have you thought about going over here? You're already working for this electric company. Why don't you go over here and get a few clock hours,
Hmm.
still
Hmm.
get paid, and come out with a credential, through this apprenticeship and have a piece of papers, hey, people call it a piece of paper, but you got something you can walk away with that makes you employable
So
anywhere
true. So
because you've already
true.
put in so much time
Right.
from being here. You don't just
Hmm.
want to lose it. An option that worked for me from
Hmm.
personal experience was
Yeah.
I was working off campus, and
Okay.
that was taking me away from campus. And, I came to find out that there were jobs on campus that made pretty much what I was making
Mm-hmm.
off campus. And
Yeah.
they were actually flexible to, hey, you're a student first. And so we have to let you be off when you need to study, and we have to
Right.
let you be
Right.
off when you have an exam.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
so that helped me greatly during the time that I was struggling academically and with lifing.
Right.
It was look, I
Yeah.
got to make some adjustments. So many things are pulling me away from the campus.
Right.
That's why I'm doing poorly. And so I would tell them just have that real discussion
Hmm.
with a person they could trust that's been there, or someone that's at the university or the college that they trust on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here's what's going on in life. I may not be able to continue here,
Hmm.
but what are my options to walk away from this with something
So
rather than
true. So
rather
true.
than nothing? So
Exactly, exactly. And I love how you said, go to someone who you trust. If that person don't have the particular answer, usually they're going to be a connector, like you're saying. So, hey,
right.
I mean, I know financial aid, but I see that you are, lacking, $300 that you owe to the university. So
Yeah.
instead of you dropping out because you do owe 300, let's see if they have, a particular pot of money that
Yeah.
you can apply for, emergency fund because your tire went out. And so again,
Yeah.
I love how you're saying, find that maybe one person on a college campus, if it's your recruiter who recruited you from high school, your
Yeah.
advisor, your professor, anyone who you can just tap into. Again, the key thing is to ask for help. And again, that's an entire chapter, Dusty, in the book, the importance of asking for help.
And
As
I
we
will,
go,
man. I
yeah,
will. I
yeah.
hate cutting y'all, brother, but I have
Oh,
and a bit what you were saying brought an example to mind.
yeah, yeah.
And it may help someone. It may be for
Hmm.
someone today, man.
Yeah.
When I was working in the College of Nursing, actually, we had a
Mm.
we had a single mother, had two kids. She was working her way through nursing school. I think she was in N3 and third semester. She came to me. She was tearful. I was advising in the college. She was about to drop out because she couldn't pay. Like you just said,
Mm.
she was
Hmm.
$700 short. Worked full time outside of the nursing time and was
Right.
raising two kids, but
Man.
was maintaining the GPA. So I
Hmm.
went to the dean, asked her. She said, "Oh yes, that's no problem. We have a pot of money for that where we can
Hmm.
award students and make up
Hmm.
gaps in there. Boom, done."
Right.
If she would have never come and talked to me,
Hmm.
she went
Hmm.
on to graduate. We still,
Yeah. Yeah.
still keep up with her online. She's
Man.
leading a very successful life. Her kids are doing well.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
could have went so differently for her if she didn't have the courage to come in and just say, "Hey, person I trust, here's my issue.
Yeah.
Can you help
Yeah.
me?" And a matter of fact, we can't, and
Exactly.
now
Yes.
she's, serving as a fully licensed RN and is doing well. And man, it did me some
Man.
good to remember that story today. So
Man, that's what it's all about. And again, the theme of this season is keeping it real and real
yeah,
advice, right? And we do endure students. I know both of us have been working with students for years, right? And
yes,
you see all type of situations, hear different types of stories, right? And so really telling students those gems is going to help them to persist, right? And go to the next
yeah,
level and don't feel like, hey, I'm alone in the process,
yeah,
I can't do this, just in life in general, we all need someone to help us out. So yeah, man, I appreciate that. And as we close, I want to see if you had any advice. I know you have smaller kids. We have your son is going to, is it elementary preschool?
yeah. Going
Yeah,
into pre-K age,
yeah,
yes, yeah, and a little
yeah.
1 year girl. So yeah, they're coming along, man.
Right, right. What would you say? I know you've been, of course, in the K-12 and just, parents in general, I'm sure from your college time, working as an advisor. What can you say to that student and be like, I want to support my student, but honestly, I don't even know where to start. Like I hadn't been to college 20 years or I never went to college. Like, what can I
Yeah.
do maybe as a parent to say, hey, I'm here to support you throughout this journey?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
If a parent's interested in that and they're asking that question, obviously they're invested in their child, so that's
Hmm.
good. So
Hmm.
that's a preface for this, but
Yeah. Yeah.
um, they probably have a decent idea of their child's general interest. If
Mhm.
not, hey, ask them some more. My number one thing would be exposure.
Mm.
Expose them early and often.
Right, right.
Even at the higher elementary grades now, you,
Hmm.
you know,
Hmm.
fourth, fifth, sixth grade, start exposing your child to all different types of things. see what they're interested in. Are they more of a science-minded person?
Yeah. Yeah.
Are they creative? Are they in the arts? Are they hands-on?
Mhm.
More than ever, there's so many routes of what you
Right.
can do, and it's a beautiful thing, but it's a scary thing.
So true. Yeah.
And so, yeah, and college has changed from, the very application process all the way to actually
Hmm.
going and all that. So, yeah, my biggest advice would be expose them, encourage them, send them to 1 day camps, 2 day camps,
Yeah.
see
Yeah.
if they like it or they don't. As you get closer to college, start taking them to a few campuses, whether it's an official campus tour or just a walk
Hmm.
around. Connect them with people that you know that may work at a college or have been to different
Right.
places. Just all of those things tie back to exposure.
So
It's
true.
it's
So
just
true.
getting all the options in front of them, and then you can get into the granular details.
Right. Right.
This is how
Exactly.
much it costs. These are the outcomes. These are the jobs it leads to. Those are the details. But you got to
Right.
figure out where's the passion, where's what they want to do. And that just comes through exposing them to as much as possible. Because you and I both know they can't see it.
Exactly.
It is extremely hard to be it if you
So
cannot
true.
see
So
it.
true.
So
Yes, yes, yes. And I love how you said, start early, start early.
yes.
And when they go to college, it's not a cutoff. I remember my
Right.
mom coming to homecoming games, and when I
Yeah.
crossed my fraternity, she was on the front row with my son is a Kappa t-shirt, I
Yeah.
was embarrassed. But it should be an extension, right? And not a
Yes.
cutoff. And then the same advice that we're telling students, parents, you can also ask for help,
Yeah.
maybe find that one person on the college campus that you can go to if you're
Yeah.
having certain issues. And of course, we know there's certain laws that they can tell you maybe students' grade,
Yeah.
different things like that. But from the majority of college campuses, they want to embrace parents. And so we want to tell
Yeah.
parents to, stick in there with your student, push them, because sometimes they do come home
Yes.
and say, I want to come home. And then
Yeah.
maybe be like, well, like, what is it? Like, we'll figure it out. We want to keep you in this thing, right? And so, yeah, man, appreciate you sharing that advice. And Dusty, we are at the end, man. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? And one part, man, of this season, again, I want to be super intentional about my guests. I want to give you your flowers. So at the end, man, I love to just tell folks what, man, the real thing they mean to me, man. So again, I start off this conversation with saying, this is my brother, y'all, man, and it's crazy. We met, when I was at the University of Memphis as a college recruiter. He was a student. And so we've been able to stay connected over the years. And when we talk about having people in your circle, your village, this is
Yeah.
one of those guys for me, y'all, that I can call and share dreams and ideas. And,
Yes, sir.
if I'm feeling down one day, it's like he just knows like what to say. And man,
Yeah.
prayer and the list just goes on and on. So, man, when I say super blessed to have you in my circle, man. And I don't take that for granted. So, brother, man, much love to you. Thank you for being on the podcast. So, you want to say anything in closing?
Oh man, hey, right back at you. I
Yes,
appreciate it. We'd be here
sir.
all day, man, if I was talking about that. But not glad that you're
Yeah.
going this route this season and keeping it real, man. And if anyone does want to connect or needs
Yeah.
anything, please
Yeah.
reach out to Dr. Boyd, and
Yeah.
he will certainly get you to me. And I'm glad to help you in any way I can. So
Got you, Dustin. We would definitely share your LinkedIn or your email on
yeah,
this podcast. And again, to the guests, I want to thank you for joining us again, y'all. This season, we're bringing the heat. Join us every Wednesday for some great guests. Again, we're talking about keeping it real issues, real advice in order to get you to the next level when we talk about post-secondary. Thank you. But importantly, make sure y'all subscribe, like, comment, right, and
yeah.
share this podcast with other students and other parents. We'll see you next week. Thank you.